is going on, guys? Undead Summoner here again. Gonna drop you guys a guide on Arms Warrior PvP. This time I had a bunch of people swinging by the stream asking me to drop a guide, so I figured why not? I have a couple out already, might as well make it a thing. Been playing a lot of Arms Warrior right up until the season ended, I believe, yesterday. We ended up at around 2,300, which is pretty good for a last minute push, so let's hop right into it. As far as the honor talents go, let's go honor talents first. We'll go honor talents. You're going to want to run Gladiator's Medallion almost always. I am Orc on this account, so Orc Relentless works really good against teams that are just super stun heavy and you feel like you're going to be constantly stunned. It works really good. I don't run adaptation hardly ever on any account that I play, but I've seen people play adaptation as a personal preference, but for me it's going to be Gladiator's Medallion and Relentless. Second line here, we're going to go with Reinforced Armor and Sparring. These are going to be depending on comps that you're fighting. If you are fighting a double melee and you know that you're going to be the target, running Sparring is going to reduce a whole lot of damage. If you're fighting caster cleaves, you're going to want to run Reinforced Armor because obviously they have no melee, so this would be useless. And Hardiness, you're probably never going to run. All right, third row, you're either going to want to take Disarm or Death Sentence against those double melee cleaves, TSGs, turbos, things like that. Disarm helps really good to slow down some of that burst. Against like arcane mages, caster cleaves, you're going to want to run Death Sentence. That ranged execute is so freaking funny whenever it actually happens. It's kind of like he charges and like shoulder checks him. It looks really cool. So I like Death Sentence for that. I do play a lot of Death Sentence. So these two are going to be your main preference. Just depends on what you're fighting against, really. These are going to change every game. All right, fourth one. I like to run Spell Reflect anytime there is CC that I could possibly get in or could be put in. Landing a key Spell Reflect on Cyclones, on Sheeps, on whatever could possibly change the whole course of the game. So it works super well. We have Master and Commander. It's okay. Rage Machine. So if it was me and there was there's no chance I'm going to get CC'd and I couldn't run Spell Reflect, I'd probably run Rage Machine. Okay, fifth one, we have War Banner and Duel are going to be the ones that you switch between just depending on your play style. Me personally, I really love War Banner. I like the ability to set up a War Banner before CC is about to happen to lower the actual duration of the CC that they get put into. And then the movement speed increase is also really, really good. The very last one, Sharpened Blade, man. This is like the bread and butter of Warrior. You can use Sharpened Blade as a form of CC in a way. And what I mean by that is, let's say you guys set up a CC chain and right as their healer is coming out of the CC, use Sharpened Blade, hit the target with a Mortal Strike. Now that healer is going to be healing that target for 50% less. So in a way, it's a form of CC. You know what I mean? So I use Sharpen. You could also macro it into Mortal Strike if you want to be lazy, or you can actually have it out on a keybind. That way you're not just constantly spamming it every 25 seconds. You can actually have a little bit of setup with it. So Sharpened Blade will work really good. All right, let's move on to the main talents. We have Dauntless, Overpower, Sweeping Strikes. Okay, for me, I usually run Dauntless or Sweeping Strikes in threes, just depending on how stacked their team is going to be. So if they're playing like another double melee cleave and you're playing with a Warlock and your goal in the game is to just rot everything, Sweeping Strikes will probably be a little bit better than Dauntless. If you're going more single target, then Dauntless will definitely be your go-to. All right, for the level 30, we've got Shockwave, Stormbolt, and Double Time. For me, I usually run Stormbolt about 90% of the games, unless for some reason the team that I am on is stun heavy already and we don't need my stun, in which case I will probably run Double Time. to catch up to the healers, if that's what we're trying to land a kill on, or catching arcane mages double time works really, really good too. Shockwave can be played. All three of these can be played. It's just going to be depending on the comp that you're fighting. If you're stacked, if their team is stacked up melee cleave, Shockwave can be really good. Sometimes you land triple Shockwaves and kill, or end up landing a kill because of it. But a majority of the time I do run Stormbolt. All right. So for the level 45 talent, we are going to go Trauma, Rend, and Avatar. For me, I'm either going to run Rend or Avatar, depending on, again, what you're playing. If your goal in the game is to constantly be swapping targets and cleaving, Rend is definitely going to be your best bet. This thing ends up putting out a ton of pressure over the course of a game, and it works very good. Avatar is going to be way more bursty, and if your comp is relying on setting up kills, then Avatar is probably going to be a better bet for you. But if your comp is more rot comp, like running with a Warlock, Shaman, then Rend will probably be the one you take. All right, for the level 60, second wind, bounding strikes, and defensive stance. Almost always, guys, I run defensive stance just because you never know when you're going to get hard swapped to in a game, especially if a team realizes that you're not running defensive stance. Let's say you get caught running bounding stride, and then once they figure it out, they just sit you the rest of the game and you end up dying because you don't have defensive stance to switch into. Bounding stride can be played. For instance, let's say you've fought the same team 4 or 5 games in a row, and every single game all they do is train your healer, or they train your Warlock into the ground, and they never touch you at all, so defensive stance really isn't doing you any good. You could probably hop into bounding stride and get a little bit more use out of it, but for a majority of games, I run defensive stance. Level 75, you have probably Titanic Might and Mortal Combo are going to be the ones that you would want to run. Excuse me, I always take Titanic Might. It's just a personal preference for me, and a lot of warriors that I've seen. So the reason I don't run Mortal Combo is because I feel like Mortal Strike is up enough. Like there's hardly downtime on Mortal Strike. So having 2 charges of it is not really needed. So my go-to here is Titanic Might. Level 90, you have Deadly Calm, in for the kill, and Focused Rage. My go-to here is in for the kill. I just haven't even messed with the other 2. This one seems just to be too good to even switch out of. For the level 100, Anger Management, Opportune Strikes, and Ravager. I've seen, honestly, all 3 of these played before, but the go-to for me is going to be Opportunity Strikes. I've seen Ravager do some crazy damage where, let's say you have a druid on your team who vortexes 3 people, and you Ravager down on top of it, and your Warlock throws like Fell Lord down, and you're spamming Mortal Strikes and Sharpened Blade on something. I've seen like a ton of cleave come out from Ravager, but it's so easy to get out of, and it's so easy to avoid that it makes it not worth it for me. But I have seen it played, so it definitely can work. All right, let's move on to macros for Warrior. Let's see what we got here. All right, feel free to pause the video at any time so that you can copy the macros. We have Stormbolt. What this does is it'll either use Stormbolt or Shockwave depending on which one I have talented. It also cancels Blade Storm, and I put a stopwatch in there so that whenever I hear the ding, I know that my Stormbolt is back up. I have my burst macro here. I'll scrub up for you. Basically, it's just kind of like a one-trick burst shot macro that puts everything in there. That one works really good. I wouldn't worry about this burst macro. All right, this one is going to be my focus charge pummel. So what that allows me to do is, if I am in melee range, all it's going to do is kick the healer. If I'm wanting to charge and kick them, this one will charge and then kick them if you keep spamming the button. Works pretty good. But like I said, most of the time, if you can just use it as a focus kick. I just have the charge in there because there are times where I just want to, charge the healer and kick him without having to target him. Over here we have charge arena 1, 2, and 3. You just swap out the numbers here. This is going to be my target nearest enemy disarm macro. What that allows me to do is I really don't have to switch targets in order to disarm somebody. I could just be standing next to them, kind of point my character at them and disarm them as long as I'm in melee range. I prefer like target nearest player macros. It's just the way I've been playing for a while. This one is a cancel blade storm, charge, and execute. So if I am blade storming and I end up getting the person to 20%, you can either execute them. If they're not in execute range, it'll charge them and execute. So that one works pretty good. This is going to be focus stormbolt. Focus, or if you don't have a focus, it will shockwave. It'll cancel your blade storm if you're blade storming, and also has a stopwatch in it. So it'll put a timer down here at the bottom of my screen. If you don't like the stopwatch, just simply delete these last 2 lines and the macro will work just as good. Okay, this one I have a focus, charge, and fear macro. So same thing as the pummel, works the same exact way. If you're in melee range, all it's going to do is fear. If you are out of melee range and you're trying to charge and get a fear off, this one will work good too. This fear is going to be my target nearest enemy fear. Works just like my disarm, except I don't have to have a target. If I just want to AoE fear something that's standing right next to me, boom, pop the AoE fear macro, and this one works good. I don't have to have someone targeted. Let's see. This is my regular kick macro. It also has cancel blade storm in it. You want to put cancel blade storm in a lot of your, or almost everything, in your executes, in your kicks, in your mortal strike, whatever. So that way, if you're blade storming and you want to get out of it, just press the button. Okay, so that's my regular kick. This is my, I probably should delete this macro. Okay, this one's going to be my @cursor heroic leap. So what that does is it removes the circle on the ground for heroic leap, and it'll just basically cast heroic leap at wherever your cursor is. So if my cursor is here and want a heroic leap, boom, it'll heroic leap without putting down the cursor onto the ground. All right, last but not least, if you want to put sharpen inside of a mortal strike macro, here's the mortal strike sharpen macro. I also have it out on my bars for whenever I want to set it up a little bit better. But sharpen is on, I believe, a 25-second cooldown. Yeah, so this one works pretty good. All right, let me see. I also have target arena 1, 2, and 3 macros. So target arena 1, target arena 2, target arena 3. Let me see if I have another macro for warrior. That looks like about it. All right, so that's all for macros, guys. If I was going a little bit too fast, feel free to just pause the video on whichever macro you need to copy. I try not to keep the videos super long, just for my own personal preference. I don't like watching and streaming long videos. So yeah, we're gonna hop into a little PvP video from the stream the other night. I believe we were fighting a rogue team, rogue priest, and it'll just show you kind of how warrior is played, a lot of the things you should be looking for, and I believe I commentated it pretty decent while I was playing. So yeah, we'll hop over to that section, and don't forget to swing by Twitch, twitch.tv/undeadsummoner. We're also doing a custom built gaming computer giveaway. If you'll type !PC in the chat, it'll show you what the computer looks like. And I had a really good time making the video, and that I'm glad the season's over, but can't wait to get some of the elite gears that we got from last season. It ought to be pretty fun. All right, guys, I'll holler at you later. Peace.
Are you ready to see the greatest warrior that ever lived? You are not prepared for this. carnage, death, sexecution. I give you Superman.
And fuck yeah, man, just a little wakey. He looks at me. I'm in combat on purpose. Did he get sapped? Yeah, he sure did. Okay, so there's Fear. He feared me to the other side of the world. This dude's gonna open on me soon. I'll probably just jump straight over his head. That's Vendetta. Oh, I kicked his next one. War Banner. Yeah, perfect War Banner North America, fellas. You know what we do here? We go for a fucking fat ass fucking Fear. Storm both off. Line. I'm gonna rally you here. Good ass fucking kick. I got next. Got it. Oh my fucking. Give me that fucking chong chong.